Hi friend, welcome to A Water Connection, a space created to learn, connect, and multiply the power of a conversation to give visibility to the water industry. I'm Jess Borges, a passionate human who believes you should increase your water curiosity. Welcome to this new episode. Today, we're going to explore a topic that is very close to my heart and to the heart of this project. We're very fortunate to have with us today Chris Philpot to talk about water literacy. Chris is the CEO of the Water Conservancy, the non-for-profit advisory hub for education, facilitation, and adoption of a more efficient approach to water use in Australia. With over 20 years of experience in the field of water efficiency and a proven track record of promoting sustainable water use at a local, national, and international level, Chris has a passion for helping everyone value water more. So we had to have him in our Water Connection this season 1. With experience in the water sector both in the UK and Australia, Chris and the Water Conservancy team aim to help all Australians to use water more efficiently through product certification, water education, school incursions, and much, much more. Welcome to A Water Connection, Chris.
Hi, Jess. How you going?
Good. Very happy to have you here. I guess I always try to start with a very basic questions, and this came up when I was mentioning to someone that I was going to have a talk to you. And they ask, what do we mean when we talk about water literacy?
Good question. In fact, we often try and use the expression water knowledge when we're talking in the public space on social media, because water literacy, it's quite a bit of a buzz kind of industry term at the moment, and a lot of the water utilities are doing a lot of work into water literacy, but it really is all around exploring how much knowledge do we have of the way water gets to our home. How does water come out of our taps? What process does it go through when it gets, treated and pumped to get to our homes? And then when we flush the toilets, and where does that wastewater go? And what happens to rainfall when it rains on our property? What happens to that? And how does stormwater work? So, and there's what we found really is it's quite amazing the lack of knowledge that we have as Australians, but I think probably also worldwide we'd see similar trends. But the lack of knowledge when it comes to our water understanding is so much lower than you would expect, and definitely so much lower than we ideally would like it to be.
Of course, and that's a conversation that we have had with multiple guests coming up here. We work in the industry, we love it, we know how important it is, but out there is a little bit difficult. So yeah, I like that. Water knowledge is a much better way to put it. And you mentioned that it's, of course, in Australia, you have been studied this, but you also have some knowledge of how it works outside of Australia. What can you tell us, how do we see Australia in comparison to other countries in terms of water knowledge levels?
Look, I think generally we find in Australia, we find that it's the younger generations that have much lower levels of water literacy. When you look at the older generations, they've experienced a drought or many droughts, and they have good knowledge about conserving water, whereas the younger generations are generally sort of less knowledgeable, which is surprising because we all learn about water literacy at school. We learn about the water cycle and the urban connection, and it's surprising that the younger generations are forgetting about it. But what we do find is that the younger generations, so Generation Z, are the most likely to take tap water for granted. And they say they need long hot showers to relax, and they're really not very knowledgeable about water or really thinking about water. Maybe they're just too busy in their everyday lives to think about water. But at the same time, whilst they are quite illiterate with their water knowledge, there's a big opportunity because they really do care about the environment, and they really are open to learning about water and to changing their behaviors for those environmental reasons. So if we can somehow come up with some ways to explain to people how water fits into that environmental climate change angle, bring water into the climate change conversation, as we say. If we can do that, then we can really bring the Generation Z and the younger generations onto our side when it comes to using water wisely. And I think that's similar in the UK, that's similar in New Zealand and places like that. There are different variables in other countries, obviously, but when you're looking at levels of metering, the UK's got a much lower level of water metering. There are similar things in New Zealand. Not everyone's on a meter, so and metering is a huge thing, obviously, with the way we engage and become aware with our water use. If we don't have a meter, then we've got nowhere to start in terms of understanding how much we're using. And a smart meter is even better, obviously. Like, some people are very lucky and have smart meters, and then you can engage regularly if you want to and understand how much water you just use in your shower or use for washing your hands that day. So, there are small differences, but generally we're finding that, particularly in Australia, those younger generations are the ones that we really need to kind of bring onto our side and bring along in the water awareness journey that we're trying to communicate at the Water Conservancy.
Yeah, wow, that's really interesting. Definitely. I would have thought that, yeah, because young people maybe have been in school like more recently, have it a little bit
Mm,
more front of mind. But yeah, you're right. They might be busy in other things, and maybe older generations. I mean, you pay the bills and you have to be a bit more aware. And also, they have been through like things like the millennial droughts here in Australia and things
yeah.
that definitely have changed the perception of water in it. Do you know anything about like, or like, geography, like how about people in the cities versus people maybe in rural areas where maybe the main water utilities don't arrive?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, generally, it's as you would expect that, people living in rural areas are more likely to be more connected with their water use because they're more likely to have a big rainwater tank and, be
Yeah.
aware of how much water that tank's storing. Whereas in the cities, we're really not thinking about our water use at all. Generally, we're too busy with our everyday lives. We're using water very much on autopilot and taking water for granted. It's actually quite interesting. We do regular research at the Water Conservancy, looking at people's behaviours and attitudes when it comes to water use, and we found that there's a real disconnect between how we think about water, what we know about water, and how we really use water. And we've sort of tried to shape our programs to try and address these things. But what we've really found is, alongside the issue of water literacy and the generational water literacy issue, we found that there's a real disconnect between the way people think about water in the environment and the way people think about their own tap water. And
Yeah.
so, when we ask people to think about water, the first thing that comes to their mind is things like rain, rivers, lakes, streams. They're not thinking about tap water, which is, the water they're using all the time. And that's really I find that amazing. We use our taps all day long. And, we actually ask people how often they think they use their taps in their home. And everyone underestimates their water use. Everyone underestimates the amount of times that they're using water. So most people think it's around 6 or 7 times in a day that they're using water, but it's actually at least 15 times or more that we're using water every day.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
and that's I find that fascinating because it really demonstrates to me that we underestimate our water use. We're not thinking about our water use, and some you might say, what's the issue with that? Well, the issue with it is that we need to, if we're not aware of our water use, then how can we encourage people to use it efficiently and wisely?
Yeah, you have to understand it first, and I think those are pretty two important thoughts and behaviors that people have around thinking about water only in the natural point, and then only and kind of underestimating the amount of water that they use at home. Loss. Is there any other common misconception that you guys at the Water Conservancy have discovered that the population has within the sector, like within our industry and what we do?
We found that there's a big difference between perception and reality. So
Yeah.
what people think they do is super different to what they really do. And we found, and there's sort of linked to that concept that I mentioned before of people underestimating their water use. There's an element when you ask people how much water they're using that they want to make them sound, I think with any environmental kind of problem, they want to make themselves sound better than they actually are. And
Yeah.
so that's certainly part of it. But most people tend to underestimate their water use. And I think about something like in the recent research we did, 75% of people said that they use 150 litres of water a day per person or less. Now that's
Yeah.
actually 150 is actually quite efficient, and we know that 75% of the population are not using 150 litres or less. So the general trend is around 150, 200, to up to like 350, 400 even in some areas. And so
Yeah.
we know that people are misreporting their water use, probably because they actually don't really know and they're just guessing, or they're making themselves sound better. With shower times, it's really interesting. People tell us that they're really efficient and they have short showers, but when you really drill down into that, they're actually showering for about 12 or 13 minutes. So, they're not having short showers, even though they're telling us that they are. There's also a great example that I love that's come out of the UK, some research by the Consumer Council for Water called Sink Sense a couple of years ago, where they explored people's environmental behaviours with water, and they interviewed people about fats and not pouring fats down the sink. And everyone said that they were really, we don't pour fat down the sink, we just put it in the bin, as we should do, to dispose of it properly. And then they captured them on video a few days later, just pouring their chicken fat down the sink. And so, very different what they were actually doing to what they said they do. So,
Yeah, yeah. And I think one of the things that you say earlier, like when you ask people how much water they consume, I was thinking about that myself. It's like
mhm,
I don't even know how to do that. Like, and I work
mhm.
with flow rates and pipelines during my work life, but like when you come at home, it's really hard to know exactly like, oh, this particular tap for that amount of time might be doing this flow rate or these other things. So it's very like at the end of the day it's hard to ask people that, because if we don't even know or we can't tell them exactly what's the rate of water that they're getting out of the different appliances is going to be difficult. By a time, for example, in showers, that's a bit more I don't know, I'm a bit more familiar, but it's very interesting that
Yeah.
as you're saying that, I'm saying, oh, I don't even know how I do it.
And you're absolutely right. And we shouldn't be accusational and make people feel bad about it, because it's just a
Yeah, no.
big learning. It's a big educational journey. And it comes back to that water literacy thing. And there's so much work that I think we can do as an industry. And by collaborating together, all the different groups in the water industry can collaborate to really try and improve people's knowledge and understanding of how much water is being used. And there's a lot of work going on in this area already by many different utilities around the country, which is fabulous to see. But I think there's a long way for us to come to gain an understanding of, what is the average flow rate of a tap, of a water efficient tap? What's the average flow rate of a shower? How much does a washing machine use in one load? These are things
Yeah.
that are not really in our everyday visibility, and things that aren't really available for us to understand that easily. The data's out there if we want to Google it and have a look for it, but it's not sort of right there in our face.
Yeah, it's not that easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And moving now into, you mentioned a little bit that there are a lot of things going on out there to improve the population's water knowledge or water literacy. What mechanisms can we use to teach people about water?
So I suppose, I mean, one thing is like, if we have time, you can just do a quick Google. Like, there's the government's mandatory WELS label, the Water Efficiency Labelling Scheme, which is indicates flow rates of all taps, toilets, showers, washing machines, and dishwashers. That's the sticker that everyone would see on their white goods, with the stars
Oh, with
to
the stars,
indicate
yeah.
how much water the machine is using. And generally, the more stars you see, the more efficient the appliance is. So that's a really good indicator. What I'd love to talk to you a little bit about Water Night, which is a campaign we're running at the Water Conservancy, which was really designed when we set it up 5 years ago to improve levels of water literacy and to raise water awareness. And I'm super excited to share with you. This is the 5th year we've run it. We already have more signups than we've had any other year previously. And the data that we've seen when we evaluate the previous 4 years has shown that we see Water Night improving levels of water literacy by 24% amongst participants, and water awareness by around 58% amongst participants. So we know that out of the 12,000 or so individuals that participated last year, they've all seen an improvement in their water literacy and their water awareness as a result of participating in Water Night.
Oh, that's amazing. And that was my next question. I was going to lead into this magnificent event that you guys have been running, and you're wearing the t-shirt for it. So I absolutely love it. So in terms of major learnings that you have had from these past 4 years, because now this is the 5th year, so there will be more things coming up here. But, people are a lot more conscious. Levels of water literacy have improved. What other learnings have you had from this Water Night in these last 4 years?
It's just been a fabulous journey, really, because I suppose the first year was a bit of a pilot, a bit of a trial to see how it would go. Would people adopt it? Would people want to do it? And we've really seen the event grow year on year. So as a quick overview for those of you that don't know what it's about, we ask people to sign up to not use water for 5 hours from 5 p.m. until 10 p.m. on Thursday, the 24th of October. It's always the third Thursday in October during National Water Week. And it's just an exercise to experience not being able to use water for 5 hours. In terms of learnings, it's a huge thing. It's actually really, really hard not to turn on your taps, not to have a shower, not to use water for anything over the space of 5 hours is significantly challenging. And sometimes we get people saying, oh, I can't do that. How am I going to shower when I get home? It's like, well, that's the whole point, You're not going to shower.
Don't do it one day.
We're not asking you to do it every day. We're asking you to do it once, to experience it. And what does that experience give you? It gives you a real awareness, and for the first time, possibly for the first time in your entire life, you're thinking about not being able to use water. You're thinking about water. You want, when you can't do something, you want to do it more. So You're actually really engaged and thoughtful about water. And during that time, we send information to participants on to improve their water knowledge. We have fun games and activities for young kids in families that they can do. Things called little things to help people not use their taps, like tap guardians and brake bracelets, and little emus and koala bears and things like that to encourage people to really not use water. And all those things have really engaged people on Water Night in terms of thinking about water and just improving their knowledge and awareness. And it's been a great learning. We're constantly looking to see how we can evolve it. The rules will always stay the same, but I think every year we want to introduce a new element. So this year the theme is tap off, tune in. So it's all about switching off that tap and tuning in to our knowledge and our information that we're providing you around water. But it also has that sort of double meaning. It's sort of tap off from your devices that we're so obsessed with using and tune in to water, this world of water that we need people to be in, or are asking people to be in.
That's fantastic.
So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah. Can you remind us when it is and how can we sign up for it?
Absolutely. So this year it's Thursday, the 24th of October, and it's 5 p.m. till 10 p.m. But the website's open at waternight.com.au, waternight.com.au. So if you go there, you can sign up. It takes about 5 seconds to sign up, and then we'd love you to sign up and get involved and come on the Water Night journey with us and let us know what you think.
Fantastic. So if you're listening to this and you haven't signed up for it, the waternight.com.au, I will leave the website as well in the show notes, but make sure that you go and subscribe and register for this magnificent experience coming up on the 24th of October. So that's fantastic. I've done it a couple of years, and it's quite interesting to just kind of not have water, and it kind of simulates situations that in other parts of the world happen. Like right now, I'm from Colombia, and I talked to my family, and they're actually going through water restrictions because the reservoir levels are really low. And she's like, there's a night every 10 days that I can't, not a night, sorry, a whole day that I have to go without it. So it's literally simulating that without having to actually live it, to understand how important this resource is, and how in vital is for us to also take care of it. So definitely will encourage everyone to sign up for it, because you still have a little bit of time after you listen to this episode. And Chris, one of the other very interesting things that the Water Conservancy works on is on research. We talk a little bit about that off the camera before, to understand, of course, perception of water and all of these. But I understand that also this week, if not yesterday, when this is actually coming out, you published a new piece of research exploring not only water, or like the understanding of people of water, but around something that is very important, which is the water and energy nexus. So that's very interesting, because normally we tend to think that water literacy would be only in the context of water supply, water conservation. So what are the main, what did you want to achieve with this research, and what are those main findings?
You're absolutely right. It's just a deeper dive into that water literacy and that understanding of water, but also how is that connected to energy? And the reason behind it for us was, what are the different motivations for saving water? Sometimes for some people, there's that environmental angle and that sustainability angle. That's why they want to use water wisely. For other people, it might be a financial reason. Especially during the cost of living crisis. But, that financial reason for saving water is actually even bigger if you couple with it the energy savings that can be made. So we really wanted to explore a little bit, how much do people actually understand how much energy is used when they're using water? And, the results were quite shocking or disappointing, if you like. I mean, I suppose it shows, again, there's a lot of work that we need to do to help people understand, to help people save energy and water, and in turn save quite a lot of money. We found that 77% of respondents are actually unaware that heating water in the home is a major source of greenhouse gas emissions. In fact, it's comparable to aviation, which is super surprising. Everyone goes on about flying and carbon emissions, but actually heating water in the home is comparable. It's about 4% of our greenhouse gas emissions come from heating water in our homes. And most people, well, 3/4 of people don't realize that.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And would you have gone into this research into the energy that is also needed to take water into the houses? Because that's a part that is quite important. For example, in some of the work that I've done, is like pumping systems and the amount of energy that is needed for that. Like, of course, people don't have any control about it, but at least knowing that there's a whole lot of energy that is being spent just to get people to make sure that the tap water is there available.
Yeah, that's actually interesting. It's another thing that people don't realize. I think it's about 1 or 2% or something like that, treating and pumping water to get cold water, obviously, to people's homes. This piece of research was specifically around consumer knowledge and what happens in the household.
Yes.
And so, it can be around 40% of your total energy bill. If you sort of break it down a bit, just heating water for using in showers, for bathing and washing hands, just hot water in your home, the energy used for that is around 30% of your energy use, your energy bill.
Wow.
But then think about adding things like washing machines and dishwashers. They're both heating cold water to sterilize and to clean dishes and clothes, using lots of energy. We're boiling kettles, we're using coffee makers. That's around another sort of almost 10% potentially. So about 40% of our energy bill for doing all of those things that are connected to heating water in the home. And then we can look at other things like rainwater tanks. There's often a pump on a rainwater tank, or people with pools. There's energy used for pool filters and backwash devices. So there's a significant amount of energy that's used in your home that's connected to water, and it's an interesting area.
That's right. Stuff that I hadn't even thought about it. Like, just to make your tea, you're gonna need energy to just get that warm. So I think that's very valuable to teach the population and to ourselves as well as water professionals. So I'll also put a link into some of those results in the show notes, so you can go and check it out when you have some time. Wonderful, Chris. I've got always three questions at the end of my episode with my guests. And the first one is, what do you think is the biggest challenge that the water sector is facing right now?
Oh, okay. I should have been prepared, Jess. If there was the same three questions, I should have checked this out
No, the
beforehand.
idea is to not be prepared and just have a conversation here.
The biggest challenge. Well, obviously, my area of speciality is in
Of
awareness and
course.
water efficiency, with that slant on literacy and trying to understand the barriers to people not using water wisely necessarily in their homes. So, I think that in itself is a huge challenge. Uh, Obviously there are so many areas of that kind of that demand supply balance within industry, and different specialists across the industry are working on, um, purified recycled water, which is a fabulous thing, and water recycling schemes, and even desalination and increasing supply that way. But I think water efficiency, in my mind, obviously, but it always plays a huge part, and it's a huge mechanism by which we can, offset construction of a desal plant, for example, or the need to build a new dam. And it's a great mechanism to just encourage people to be more engaged with their own water use, and really empower the individual, empower households really to take control of their own water use in their homes. And so for me, I suppose that's a challenge. The challenge that I'm trying to bring across is the need for greater collaboration in water efficiency, and I think that's a really important one. And I'm always keen to talk to all parties and all sectors of industry and business, and the water sector to try and make that happen better. So
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. I think it's very important because
yeah,
we can do all the work we want and have all these technical challenges, but if we don't have the community on board,
yeah,
understanding why it is and what's the role in it as well,
mm,
it's just gonna make everything a lot harder for us. Like even from an investment point of view, like to convince people that we need to do these like big investment in infrastructure, if they don't really understand why is that there, it's gonna be very difficult. And also, as you say, sometimes even the population's behavior could actually offset some of the stuff that we need to do. So I totally agree with you that is one of the biggest challenges that we have, which is communicating that value of water, which comes back to why we do these and why I do these conversations, to just get the message a little bit out there.
yep.
And Chris, what would be your message to young water professionals who might be listening to you right now, people that are studying in the industry, maybe working in other areas? What would be your message for them?
Think about water. Think
Yep.
about your body use. Yeah. When you go home tonight after your busy day and you're too busy, you're getting your kids dinner, or you're on the phone to your friends, or you're trying to get your favorite TV show up, or whatever it is you do when you go home, rushing back from the gym. Just next time you're using water, just stop to think about it. And if you're in the shower or if you're washing your hands, how's that water coming out of the tap? How's that water coming out of the shower? What process has it gone through? And you might realize you don't know the answer to that question, but just thinking about how has it come there, it doesn't just appear out of the tap. There's a huge process, some very, very important people that are doing great, fabulous work to get it to our homes. And if they stop doing their job, it's not going to come to our homes anymore. But people just expect it should do every single day. And
That's
so it's
right.
quite amazing, isn't it? We don't really think about it until there's a burst pipe in the street, and then we're up in arms. Um, I think our research showed that 69% of people would freak out if their tap stopped running. So it's kind of like, you know what I mean? So we just expect it to be there. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
We're so lucky. We have high quality treated drinking water that's, in Australia. And we're very, very lucky that we do. But I think my message would be just next time you're using water, just to stop and think about how it's got there, how it's
Just
got there.
think about it.
Mm.
Yes, yes. Thank you. I think that's a wonderful message. And to wrap up, Chris, why do you work in the water sector?
Look, I love the people that work in the industry. I think everyone's just fabulous. When you go to events and you network, where everyone's so passionate about what they do. I think water attracts a certain type of person that everyone's lovely, and I love talking to everyone in the industry. It's a
Oh,
special place to
lovely.
work.
It is,
Yeah.
and I think that's also a very common question. Answer to this question is the
It's
importance
true.
of
Absolutely
it,
true. Yeah.
and the people, like how collaborative we are and how passionate we are. So definitely agree
Yeah.
with that as well. Thank you very much, Chris, for your time today. I think I learned a lot about perceptions of people around water, misconceptions that they have, and all the work that the Water Conservancy is doing. So everyone just remember Water Night, Thursday, October the 24th, 5 to 10 p.m. Sign up on waternight.com.au. So thank you very much for joining us today, Chris.
No problem at all. Thank you very much.
And to you, my friend, thank you very much for tuning in and listening to this episode of our Water Connection. Follow us on LinkedIn as our Water Connection to hear all the updates and new episodes coming. There will be only one more episode this year coming after this, which will be our season finale. So tune in for that. It's going to be great. You can hit follow on our Water Connection on any podcast platform, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and also where you can watch us on YouTube. Help us grow in this project. Help us, people like the Water Conservancy as well, delivering this message on the importance of water, and share this episode with your colleagues, friends, and family. Help us and help them increase their water curiosity. See you next time.